All right, let's get into some common pitfalls that you can come across when you're building and ranking an authority website. Now, first, with regards to technical SEO, page speed is always for some reasons, a thorn in the side of authority websites. I'm not sure why, but page speed always degrades over time. You could go out and get an audit, change all these things today, take a look at it again 2 months later, and the page speed has decreased. Why? Because some plugin was added, some no script was added, you got a new developer that added something. I don't know why, but it always just degrades. Check GTmetrix and both Pingdom and GTmetrix to get an accurate reading on what's your loading time for each of your pages. Don't just check the home pages because your home page might be fine, but inner pages, your money pages might be loading slow because you uploaded huge images or something like that. But check GTmetrix, Pingdom, both of these guys on all your pages. Basically what you're looking for is 2 seconds or better is fine. Anything more than that, you should try to fix it. When I say fix it, I recommend to outsource speed optimization. We made the mistake earlier this year of trying to learn it in-house and making an expert at the company to get up to speed, so to speak, on speed optimization, which was fine. Now we have an expert in-house that can always do our speed optimization himself, but what happened here is that resource was tied up for a couple months, like really learning and becoming an expert at that. When outsourcing speed optimization is so cheap, I could have just paid someone, I don't know, a couple $100 a pop for each of my websites, and they would have been done. Instead of 2 months, it would have been done in a couple of weeks, and it would have been cheaper than this person's salary. So given ROI and given all these considerations, I definitely recommend to outsource speed optimization. Whoever I'm using, I'll recommend in the resources section below. Another huge area of technical concern is keyword cannibalization. Why is this particularly more interesting and more of a threat to an authority website as opposed to a niche website? Is because you'll be writing lots of topics. Authority websites can cover more content because the niche reach is larger, so there's more opportunities for topics to cannibalize with each other. So if you're trying to figure out whether or not to put a piece of content into one super mega guide or to break that up into two specific pages, basically what you want to do is you're going to look at the SERP result to figure out if they should be on separate pages. So right here, I've Googled best tasting protein powder, and I can see right here that the number one, or the guy that has a featured snippet, is Gear Hungry. They have a specific article about best tasting protein powders. They don't want you to have a best protein powder page and then also have a subsection on taste. They want you to have a standalone page. So this should not keyword cannibalize. That should be fine. That said, Google changes their minds all the time, so it's in your best interest to just recheck and make sure nothing is cannibalizing. When you do encounter cannibalization, most of the time what I'm doing to fix it is either canonicals or merging content into a single page and just getting rid of the other piece of content that was causing the problem in the first place by de-indexing it and 301ing it, something like that. Also, technical concern is indexing. So if you make a mistake with a niche site and you accidentally index like your category pages or I don't know, some like images, the wrong plugin settings, it can cause a problem. But it's usually a slight problem with 5 extra pages indexed, something like that. Authority site indexing problems, you're going to index hundreds of extra pages. And for some strange reason right now, we had a developer come and take a look at, we had a new developer working on diggitymarketing.com. He accidentally uninstalled and reinstalled All-in-One SEO. All-in-One SEO has a sitemap, and the default setting for that sitemap was told Google to index all of the images and stuff. So if we look here, we have all these freaking images indexed on diggitymarketing.com. It happened because of All-in-One reinstalled itself, and it sucks. There's hundreds of extra pages indexed. It'll work itself out eventually, but this is just I'm just crossing my fingers to make sure that Diggity Marketing doesn't get any kind of issue due to wasting the crawl budget. Now, most likely this will repair itself. Everything, if you click on any of these links that now like they're all 301 back to the homepage or something like that, it should be fine, but it's just not something you want to have to deal with. Another technical SEO issue would be orphan pages. So you're building a lot of pages. It could happen that you built a page that doesn't have a link from anywhere else on your website. How you can figure this out, just run Screaming Frog or Deep Crawl, and they'll be able to display out a list of orphan pages on your site. They probably found it to the sitemap or something like that. Basically, all you need to do is just make sure all the pages you want to rank are linked to from the home page or some kind of money page. There shouldn't have a huge distance away from the home page. So what we call a level 1 link is a link that's one link away from your homepage. Your homepage links directly to it. A level 3 link is 3 links away from your homepage. So just make sure all the pages you want to rank are between level 1 and 3. All right, the rest of the stuff. So let's see, what are some other technical SEO concerns? Number 1 is thin pages. Again, you're building a lot of content. You can accidentally have, maybe publish a page back in the day where, we had a different standard, and maybe you released some content that was thin, it didn't have enough images, or maybe it just didn't have enough words and it's not providing any value. At this point, you can decide, do you want to bulk this guy up, make it 1,000 words or more? Or do you want to just kill it altogether and just delete the page? Also, duplicate content. So I'm sure you're not going in and cutting, pasting content from one article to another, but it's not up to you to decide whether or not it's duplicate content. Google is up to make the decision, and we see they make mistakes all the time with keyword cannibalization and whatnot. So one great tool to be able to check for duplicate content in the sense that Google would be to use SiteLiner. You can just load up your site in SiteLiner, and it will tell you, okay, this page has 83% overlap with another page. This is something you want to take a look at. And then both Ahrefs and SEMrush have great site audit tools that'll sweep up the rest of the stuff that's too meticulous to cover on a slide here. So just running Ahrefs or SEMrush site audit tool will just show you stuff like, okay, you didn't fill out a meta description, or something is too short, too long, something like that. Just run through it and check off all the items. And then another pitfall would be falling out of the review lane. We talked about this before, but it seems right now Google's liking to classify sites either as informational or review based. And when you publish too much informational content, you lose the ranking advantage that you once had for review keywords. So again, we talked about this before. Keep track of what your rankings are when you put up new content out. So if at one point in time you were indexing on page 1 and now you find you're indexing on page 4, it's likely you missed the sweet spot. And you just need to keep good documentation and try to get back to that sweet spot ratio between informational and review content. Content updates. Okay, check this out. Just think about this for a second. What do you do when you write new content and you try to figure out what you should cover, how long to make the content? Basically, you go and you see what's written and you do better. You make a longer article, you cover more topics, you write it better, you cite more sources. It's just better. That's how you write content. That's how most people do that. Guess what? You're not the only person that does that. So once you hit number 1, people are looking at your content and then they're one-upping you. And so what happens over time is, at one point in time, you might have had the best piece of content on this particular subject, but then you got one-upped eventually. So when you do drop, you want to take a look at word length. You want to look at topic coverage. So like a really quick, easy way to do this is, first, you can just look at the H2s and the H3s that you cover. So if I'm talking about best protein powder, then I compare to the other people on page 1 and I see like, okay, they have different H2s that are talking about amino acid content. I never talked about amino acid content. So let's inject that into my content. Another thing you can do is run TF-IDF. So TF-IDF will compare the words that you have on your page and their frequency against what people have on their pages on page 1. So if you see words coming up that you simply have never talked about before, it probably means you haven't talked about a different subtopic that is now of concern in your niche, and you need to cover that now. And then also look at your SEO quality. So a lot of times, we make websites and they start to do well, they start ranking, we make more websites, we start focusing our attention on those. Next thing you know, it's been 1 or 2 years later and we haven't looked at the SEO quality that we did on our original site. Maybe things have changed. Maybe optimization uses different tools or different standards now. So it's time to go back and just make sure that your optimization is up to today's level standards. Another pitfall, internal anchor text balancing. Let me just ask you a question. Are you ridiculously, stupidly detail oriented to the point where people might call you anal, for example? If the answer to that is yes, don't worry about this. If your answer is no, you probably need to audit your internal anchor text and make sure that your money pages, which have been getting hundreds of internal links over the months and possibly even years, still have a good balance of target versus URL, brand, and miscellaneous anchors. And then lastly, the final pitfall I can say related to authority sites that wouldn't affect niche sites would not take an advantage of creating an email list. So what I can say is that info content doesn't convert very well into affiliate commissions at all. Like if someone reads an article about protein versus carbohydrates and going to the gym, they're not ready to buy protein powder. But I can easily get them to convert into an email lead by giving them an ebook or something like that. And essentially, once you have an email list, you can remarket to these guys and send them coupons to your favorite offers later. But these email lists are also very attractive to buyers because it's an alternative source of traffic if the shit were to hit the fan, for example, with organic traffic, for example. And also, like, you can remarket to this email list with an automated follow-up series. You can send out coupons and stuff for special promotions like on Black Friday. And on average, you can increase the revenue of your site up to 15%. I've achieved up to 18% revenue increase just from the email funnel. So it's definitely worth doing. If you want to learn more about this, revisit the creative monetization video in the Affiliate Lab.